Today I want to talk to you about whether or not you should take something you love, for me it would be crochet, and take it from a hobby into a side hustle, something that could potentially make money. There are pros and there are cons of this. There are a bunch of videos out there, and the reality is no one can really make that decision for you. It's going to be something that you need to investigate on your own, figure out what your priorities are, figure out what your wants are, kind of take it from there. I don't think there's a blanket answer, a one size fits all. I don't think it is right for everybody, but I also don't think that you can just say that it's wrong for everybody. I don't think it will necessarily suck the joy out of your hobby if you make some key decisions very early on that really set the tone for how this business would work. I've got several videos on my channel where I talk about how you can make money with yarn and crochet, and for the most part, pretty much all of it is not talking about making and selling stuff. So I will have that playlist linked. It will be in this video, will be in that playlist. Yeah, if you want to check out any of those videos, definitely do that. Now, it is a great time to kind of take stock of how things are going, how you want things to go, and if you want to change things up just a little bit. So let's talk about why, despite having said multiple times that I was not going to turn myself into a sweatshop and start creating things to sell, why I've changed my mind. I don't think I'm being a hypocrite, but I think that what has changed is me. I think that some of my goals have changed. I think that some of the things I'm working for have changed a little bit. So for me personally, I've been running this channel, I think about 4 years. I think in April it'll be my 5th year on YouTube. The one thing that I really found in my channel is that I didn't want to do a typical channel, and for me, doing tons and tons of tutorials just wasn't going to work for me at all. And while I throw in something occasionally, it's not the mainstay. When I very first started my channel, I was frantically trying to find stuff to crochet, and I was doing a lot of it based on the yarn I had, yarn I picked up like thrifting and stuff like that, and it led to so many projects that were kind of useless to me, and I didn't necessarily have any good place to take them, or all that stuff. That also doesn't particularly work with my channel. Just crocheting to crochet just doesn't work. So over the years I switched things up, and I was like, I'm only gonna crochet things I love, which I still kind of stand by. But guess what? There's a limit to how many virus shawls that I can have and need and wear. Or like my infinity scarves or whatever. There really is a limit to how many I need and want and can actually use. So that was the first step in me maybe rethinking things a little bit and thinking that I do still want to do crocheting, and have my channel at the same time. Basically, that just led to me thinking that there was potential there for me to sell some crocheted things. And I have been on and off the fence and back over and whatever a million times. I've been on both sides of it. Came up with ideas, abandoned them, started them, abandoned them, decided I don't want to do that. But I do feel a little bit different this time. And I think I can tell you, the main reason is I did quite a bit of investigating. And for me, the main thing keeping me from doing any type of vendor booth events in my area is that there just isn't a lot of publicity, and the people that go are a very scattered mix of things. A lot of the people going to these vendor shows are looking for like different multi-level companies like Scentsy, and there's nothing bad about that, but it's like that's what kind of people are looking for at a lot of these things. And I wanted something that really focused on handmade things, and there just isn't a lot of that around here. There are a couple actively in my area, but the fees are quite high, and not having done it before and not knowing if it's worth it, that I just wasn't willing to take that chance. So this is where a key difference might be, where you're different than me. So if you live in basically any other area than like rural Iowa, you might have a lot more options. So in this case, I would say investigate, really look around, scour the internet in your area, check in at different places you frequent, ask people if they go to those type of events and find out what is there. Go visit them, like go to an event, meet other vendors, that type of stuff, and see if you can find one that really fits much better with your target demographic of people. And we will get to that in just a second. And like how I said this was different for me is that in my area, I got the crazy idea to enlist the help of a friend, and we are actually having our own market. I did a video a few weeks back, and I will link that for you, where I am talking about the very, very first steps in having your own like craft fair, pop-up market, whatever you want to call it. I will be adding to that again very shortly as we are kind of going through the next stage. Right now we're currently registering vendors. I've got some other stuff done, so I will be adding to that playlist soon. But yes, I decided in order to attract the people that I want to attract, I was going to probably create tons and tons more work for myself, but to have my own vendor fair so I can advertise where we need to advertise and really do my best to make it as successful as possible. Thankfully, I did choose a great co-host, and again, there's more about picking a co-host in that video. We're very aligned on a lot of different things, and basically, in order for us to do this, we want it to like be, I don't want to come off like it's all about money, but like it needs to be profitable. If you are going to spend all that time and all that energy and all the yarn, then you do need to make a profit in order to make it worth it for you, and it needs to be comparable to work, I think. So that was the first step, finding the right venue that really aligned with what I want, and like I said, having to create it if it didn't exist. So if you've decided you do in fact want to do a market, my next step was creating my brand, which is totally different than what I have here on YouTube, because this brand is totally tailored towards my local crowd and how people know me and where people know me from locally and stuff. I came up with a name, and I immediately created a Facebook page for that, for the local brand. And I also created a website. And I keep things pretty simple and pretty inexpensive, so I'm not spending a ton of money on these type of digital products. It does really help as far as establishing yourself as an actual brand and not just a hobby type of thing. So I came up with some graphics on Canva for my branding, came up with some very similar branding, had some photos of myself, and used like clothing colors, in the fonts and stuff like that on the website so that it would look very cohesive, very, very simple, very, very basic, but it still has a cohesive brand look. I think it's also important I had to decide, who am I selling to? Because in reality, we want to sell to everybody, but everybody doesn't want to buy from us. And so I feel like if you spread yourself too thin and try to make something that everyone can enjoy, you'll kind of end up with something that nobody enjoys that much, like enough to buy from you. Like they might be like, oh, that's neat, but are they going to buy it? And I think a good place to start is kind of who you are. A good example, my friend loves being a grandma. She's very active in her grandkids' lives, and she makes them different clothes, baby clothes, different things for her. Something like that, baby clothes, baby accessories would be a great place for her to start if she was wanting to do something like that. For me, I am a middle-aged woman. I am on the younger end of Gen X, but I'm definitely Gen X. And I feel like a lot of us Gen X ladies kind of have a little bit of an attitude. Like we kind of think we're young. We kind of think we're tough. We kind of think we're like, I don't know. You still feel like a rock star, but instead you're taking your multivitamins and going to bed at 9 and talking to your friends about estrogen cream. That's how it is. But we still feel, like we can have fun. So I thought what I would do is kind of tailor my brand in that aspect. So on a larger scale, what I'm doing and the people that would be coming to a market and the people in my area, like I said, we are all very rural. I would say probably, most of the businesses in this area are, it's not like everyone's a farmer, but a lot of people have jobs that are tied directly to the farming industry. So that's something where it's just a lot of people here feel rural. So what do you think about when you're thinking rural? If rural's not your thing, think about what it is. Are you, in a big city? Are you on a coast? There's all sorts of things you can go with. But for me, I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, we've got a bunch of rural women. They could be like hometown, farm girl, cowgirl, like that type of vibe, which is great because I do love that. And then I kind of just added like a little bit of my Gen X attitude in there. And I'm like, what do we like? We like rock t-shirts. We like, feeling cool, I guess. Is there anything more uncool than saying feeling cool? Anyway, for my brand, I am really kind of working on that aspect of farm girl, cowgirl, but like with a pinch of badass to it. I think in another video, I will sit down with you and talk about the products I'm choosing based on who I think my target demographic is. I think that would make a great second video in this series. Since I'm doing all of this, I just want to share it. I think if it can help somebody else and, I'm doing a ton of research, and if I can speed that process up for you, I would love to share that with you. Now, the very first market I am going to do a little bit different than potentially markets in the future. So I'm doing this as a little side note here for you. In this particular market, since it is the first one I'm doing, I am going to have less of everything, but more items, more different types of things than I would. So I want to streamline this in the future if things are going well and have more items of less things. No, more things of less items, a higher quantity of fewer items. I feel like it'll have a much more cohesive look. I feel like it will help just with my branding, and I feel like it'll save me a ton of time and money on things that don't sell. But for this first one, I'm really using it a lot like a test audience to see what people are drawn to, what people are willing to pay, that type of stuff. So yes, it may not be exactly what I want it to be in this first one. It might not look as awesome. It might not be as cool. It might not have as good as sales, but it is definitely a fact-finding mission. And I don't think you can really know that until you get out there and you actually do it. So let's get back to my local branding. I got that Facebook page because so many people in my area are in local Facebook pages and groups. And I'm not a huge fan of Facebook. I don't really like it. If you're on the Shannon Talks Yarn page, you'll know I don't really post there very often. I just post my blog posts there. But I know that the people that I need to reach for this market are definitely on Facebook. But once I got a few cohesive graphics for the website and the Facebook page, I immediately wanted to do a few different things. So on my blog, I want to prepare potential shoppers for what to expect out of me. So I put in some articles about the type of yarns I use, where I source my yarn. And I will be totally transparent with you right here. I did have a little bit of a leg up because I've been doing my Shannon Talks Yarn blog. So I really just kind of reworked a few different posts for a different key audience, but it's a lot of the same information. So in that aspect, it was a little bit easier. But again, I had to do the work at one point. So it really wasn't that hard. I also wanted to have a few things on this blog right away about how to care for handmade garments, why you need to take care of them, why do handmade items cost so much? Things like that, like almost like preemptive, frequently asked questions type of scenario, but in blog post form. That way I can refer back to them. If I want to, I can put a QR code on like any tag I want, that would have like care instructions or anything like that, and I'll have that as a reference. I had a little bit of why am I doing this? And I also added a page of what makes me qualified to do this. And I did actually in that blog post talk about my YouTube channel. I can't really guarantee a ton of people read it, but it is out there. So I was trying to establish a little bit of credibility locally as well. Once I got those initial posts done, I then started putting those blog posts on to Facebook. Again, just kind of letting people know. I got a couple posts up. I did not oversaturate the Facebook page because I probably had half a dozen posts on my website and then, maybe 2 or 3 on my Facebook. And at that point, I went and I shared it out to pretty much everybody. Well, pretty much mostly ladies, but local people. I didn't send it to a bunch of people that were out of state or people I knew 20 years ago or whatever, but I did send it out to people local. And, I think I got like 80 page follows in a day just by doing that. Of all the local people. Some of it, I'm sure, is curiosity. Some of it is people who just want to snoop. It is a small town. People love gossip. Gives them something to talk about. So there is that as well. It could be like, oh my gosh, did you see what Shannon's doing? What an idiot. But that's how it goes. Since I am also the co-host of this market, I do actually have a nice advantage here as well, where I am having my personal brand be like the name of the co-host, and same way with my other with the other host, the co-host, it's her brand that we're using. It's like instead of using our names, we're saying our brand name, and then we're tagging them in everything. So there are people on our market page that definitely don't follow me, or maybe don't follow her, or don't follow either one of us, but they ended up coming across us from the market page. So if you're not the one having a market and you're part of one, find out what you can do to get more publicity on their market page. I feel like that was definitely the most unnerving part, is just letting people locally know what I'm doing, because it had that like taking a chance type of feeling, and you just feel like you're putting yourself out there, and it's that whole like judgment thing that most of us are trying so hard to get over. I did take a little bit of footage I had taken to make like some different reels and stuff from that I had saved, and I did make them into Facebook reels to get people, just to check out my page a little more, of me wearing some of the different things that I had made, like the virus shawl, I think a couple virus shawls, something else. But again, just doing that locally, not out of my YouTube stuff, but out of this separate brand, so that people actually know. Because I'm going to make a point here too. There was a gal I know, and I know her pretty well, and she's going to end up being part of our market. But what she said was, she goes, I have seen things on Facebook and I've seen your face, but I really wasn't sure that was you. Like, is that real? Is that really Shannon? Whatever. So yeah, you can't assume that people know that it is legit. Bringing us back, I tried to make it a little bit interesting, give people something to see, give them an additional resource to go to. And as it gets a little bit closer to the market, I am going to be letting people know some of the products that are going to be there. I want to create some mystery, but I want to create some hype. So I also don't want to reveal everything that I'm making. It will be a good way to add some teasers out there as well, and kind of gauge where people's interests actually are. Should you or should you not end up doing a market yourself? The answer is totally up to you in your specific situation, but these are the steps I'm taking to decide if it is right for me or not. I'm excited to go along with this process. I'm excited to share it with you and let you know what I learn along the way. So I would love it if you would check back and check on my progress. I will see you soon, and thank you for talking yarn with me. Bye.